All right. I think as we have decided today, the plan is to discuss some of the gaps in FFS documentation and the stuff that Patrick and his team has been doing to bridge those. So, Patrick, do you want to take it away?
Sure. So a LinkedIn Etherpad document that the Ceph team has been working on. Just gotten started on it really in terms of changes we're making. Initially, right now, we want to address the introductory material to Ceph and any related information as to how it works from an architectural standpoint to help improve understanding among our user base how Ceph works without having to consult the ancient papers that were written about it about 15 years ago. So far we've had 2 meetings on it. The team is kind of just getting started with their starting tasks in terms of what documentation will be written. But this is going to be a regular thing we do every 2 weeks to evaluate how we can make it better and what gaps there are that need filled. Moving on to the Etherpad that we've created to identify what we've got so far. There's the introductory page for CephFS, which currently doesn't have a lot of information about what CephFS is, and it's using a pretty old diagram that was just showing the user space all or block diagram for how we talk to the Ceph. That's being reworked in a pull request linked at the bottom of the Etherpad 30014. And there's doc render available. I'll just go ahead and link to that. Links in the chat. So right now we're improving this improves the description of what CephFS is and how it works, and then also provides an architecture diagram. Might not be completely happy with how this diagram looks because it maybe is a little too specific to how the metadata works, but for now I think I'm okay with it. Maybe we'll think about changing it in the future. This came from a slide deck I did a while back. See what else. You want to talk about this documentation here, or do you want me to just keep going?
You can keep going. This actually looks much better than what was there already, so great start.
Yep. Okay. Let's see. So everybody in the Ceph team, and there's 9 of us total, has a current project that they're working on. This isn't the most organized Etherpad, but I think I've annotated most of these items with who's working on them. Let's see. One of the issues we identified additionally is that there's also 2 table of contents for CephFS. There's one at the bottom, and there's one on the left, and they're kind of redundant. The one on the bottom is kind of redundant, although it's organized a little better than the one on the left. So I've asked Malin to reorganize that, or to use the standard table of contents on the left and try to organize it so that it's easier to digest by users. There's also an effort by Varsha to improve the high-level requirements that are communicated users. Mainly that's just specifying that the user or the operator needs to have some MDSs available. They need 2 pools, and they have to set up keys for the clients that are going to connect to the cluster. I believe that's going to be. Trying to remember if we decided that was going to be on this introductory page or probably just a new page. The Ray Schaub's working on improving the quick start document. There were a number of issues relating to that. I think in particular it's still referencing Ceph deploy, which is on life support and not something I think we generally recommend to new users. So we want to try to avoid mentioning that and also make sure that the current quick start actually works. I think he's already found several problems with it, so he's in the process of updating that.
I just want to interject there. I think we, in the Raiders meeting as well, we discussed Ceph deploy being outdated in most of the current documentation. So I think I'm going to take it up with the right people to figure out if we removed Ceph deploy from our documentation in master, to which release should we actually backport that. So maybe we can combine efforts there and get that done together.
Okay. Rishabh's actually here, so Rishabh, you should coordinate that with Neha, and maybe I think it would be good to also just make sure we don't mention Ceph deploy anywhere else in the Ceph documentation. Right. What else? There's also a effort to improve the documentation for the high-level concepts in CephFS. These are things we normally reference from the papers, but we want to have that also as part of the standard documentation so that it's current. There's a few differences with how CephFS used to be implemented. In particular, hard links are no longer kept in a table. They're now inlined, and we have primary and remote entries and directories, which is quite a bit different from how it is described in the CephFS papers. So we're going to be, we have a number of bullets here for different aspects of CephFS we're going to try to document. Jeff currently is working on the documentation for the distributed metadata cache that's maintained by the MDSs and the clients. That's going to touch on the capabilities. He's got a pull request in flight for that. Venki's working on the MDS journaling and the metadata pool. I'm going to try to fully document how the journaling works for the MDS and what kinds of things are journaled, and the different types of objects that are in the metadata pool. Jung is going to be talking about the client's direct access to the data pool. That'll be include how files are striped and what kind of authentication permissions are required by clients in order to access the data pool. That'll touch on Rados namespace usage, for example, by Manila and soon Ceph CSI, and how you can create credentials which give clients only access to the part of the data pool that they should have permission to use. Siddharth has also been working on providing an overview of the subtree management within the MDS. That's part of his other efforts to improve the balancer and also to add ephemeral pinning to the MDS. So this is current area of work. And then Joss is also documenting the on-disk format of inodes. That's something, that's a somewhat of a big gap within the Ceph documentation. I don't think we have anything that really goes through the how anything is actually represented on disk. So this will go a long way towards improving onboarding developers with how the metadata is actually stored in Rados. And then Romana's been working on the manager volumes plugin, which is used by Ceph CSI and soon Manila. That's actually should not be part of this Ceph concepts section, but that'll be including the new API that we've built to create volumes in Ceph. I think that's all the assigned issues. I don't think I missed anybody, but that's what we're currently working on.
This looks very structured and very well distributed, I'd say.
Yep. Or from an organizational standpoint, I think what we need to improve is, at least as part of this effort, is what exactly we want the final product to look like. For now, I'm content to just have people work on content, and then we'll try to make it look nice and coherent.
There's one thing that I wanted to bring to your attention. There have been some documentation bugs that have been reported already by users, and I think you're already addressing it, but there are just, I think, a couple of CephFS items on this Etherpad that I just shared with you. So if you're addressing it, just feel free to link the pull request or whatever, a tracker or something to those. There's one about the quick start thing, which you just mentioned that Rishabh is working on, and I think there's something about CephFS quotas.
You're referring to this link to the tracker with all the documentation issues for CephFS?
This one, I just pasted in the chat. It's called report_documentation_bugs.
Okay, I see. So is it just this quick start bug? I think these come from users, right?
Yeah, these come from users. There's this quick start one, and if you look at the end of the pad, there's one about CephFS quotas.
Okay.
I think those are the only two that are CephFS related, but
All right, I'll add a link to that to this Etherpad, and we'll talk about it.
Cool, thanks. All right, anything else any of the others have with respect to CephFS documentation, or is that all?
That's everything.
Okay, all right. Cool, then I think this looks great. Maybe we should just, I know you are tracking this separately in other meetings. Maybe we can follow up on this after a month or 1.5 months to just see where we are and what else got added, and we can discuss that in a public forum like this.
Sure.
All right, cool. I think the next thing we have on the agenda, but I don't see anybody else from Raiders here. Sam just left. So we discussed a bunch of things, and we almost fell short of time in the last meeting. So we did write down a bunch of gaps in Raiders documentation, but we haven't assigned them or created tracker issues for them. So that's one thing that's pending on us. We can probably do that offline and give an update in our next meeting. That's all I have. So if nobody has anything else, we can keep it short today. Thanks, guys.
Okay.
Have a good day.
Yeah.